Test 1 2. AC Sports Live, 9 o'clock. Straight up. Straight up and down. On this 16th day of September, the Lord's year 2025. How we doing this evening? I'm sure you're doing great. I'm feeling great. Episode 216, Season 6 of AC Sports Live. Still moving, still grooving, still getting it in for the peopleization. Once again, it's on. Pull up my Slate Tuesday, 9 p.m. Crawford is the king of the ring. My main man, Brandon Adams, was back in action. UCLA relieves Coach Foster of his duties. Who's next for the Bruins? My Eagles beat the Chiefs again. What does that say about the power of the NFL? Delaware State is rolling under Coach Jack in the Jack era. And a conversation needs to be had. What happened to college football in California? I'm AC, this is AC Sports Live. And as you are sitting comfortably on your couch, on your favorite chair, sit back and relax for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Comment, give your take, spill your 2 cents, and I gladly respond, echo, argue, conversate, fellowship. It's all love, man. AC Sports Live. Let's go.
Never put him to the test. He be reigning king forever, resurrected after death. All praise to God, brother. Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. All praise to the one.
Yes, sir.
Today's show brought to us by All In CDL Training, the future of commercial driving. Get your CDL license in less than 3 months in the city of Long Beach. All right, so the talk of the town is Bud Crawford, the face of boxing in this era. Undisputed face of boxing. Defeats Saul Canelo Alvarez. And I called decision. I had a pretty good idea that it would end up this way. Even though Bud was older, but 3 years older than Canelo, Bud is just that much more technical, that much more technically skilled. Nullified Canelo's power with his slickness. And then, when the time was right, sat in a phone booth with Canelo and gave him a taste of his own medicine. He hit him in the pocket, and it got to a point where Canelo couldn't believe what he was experiencing. When he looked at him after getting punched, and then when he got jabbed a couple times, he just put his hands down and kind of took a couple steps as to say, I have nothing. I'm gonna play a clip, and I hope I don't get the stream doesn't get shut down, but the and that's all I'm going to show. 10 seconds. Bud did his homework, man. You ain't got to like it, but you have to respect it. A lot of my friends are Canelo fans, and they thought he would be too big. And I'm like, I don't think Canelo's that big. He just has a thick neck. But as far as stature, arm length, arm girth, and shoulder girth, Bud matched him. Got in the weight room, had the proper nutrition, and they both weighed 167.5 at the weigh-in. So size was not an issue. It came down to skill. And Bud just flat out showed that he is the undisputed super middleweight champ of the world. He has a few options left. Retire, go back down to 160 and get that belt, or fight the monster David Benavidez. At 38 years old, having jumped up 3 weight classes or more, depending on where you want to put these weight classes at, from 147 to 154 to 160, 168. I think he solved his puzzle. He is now well known. He is now the GOAT of this generation, and he is now in the conversation as greatest of all time. At 42-0, having defeated everybody in his era. Now, he didn't fight Manny, and he didn't fight Floyd. They were both a little bit older, but the fight still could have happened. Just eras pass each other by, so we will never see. Because we would say Canelo and Bud are in their prime, but they're both kind of old. With Canelo being 36 and Bud being 38, 30 to 35. So they're both going to get slow pretty soon. But since Bud loves the sport and is not afraid of a challenge, he most likely will fight again. But if I'm him, I don't necessarily need to go up. If I'm going to fight David Benavidez, I make him come down to me at 168. Because I'm hearing from the grapevine that David Benavidez used to be 250 or more. Like, he used to be a big dude. And he's come down to 175. And those are big boys. That's Roy Jones Jr. size. That's young Evander Holyfield size. And Bud is not a big dude by nature. He's a small cat. He just bulked up to fight Canelo. And we know that bulking up could be detrimental to your long term if you keep going up and down. He's best to stay around 168, 165, at the most 170. But I know that the world is now a believer. The styles make fights and skills. Skill on skill. Dr. Frazier's in here. What's good, my good brother? I was going with Bud, and when I saw that he had been sparring with Martinez, I felt he could take Canelo's punches. Both of them had pretty good camps. As you watch the little clips they would show, they both had comparable sparring partners. Bud had Martinez, Canelo had Boots Ennis. But Boots Ennis is not Bud Crawford. But Boots Ennis was touching up Canelo. And that gave me more confidence that Bud was going to hit Canelo at ease. And Floyd said that was going to be the case, because Floyd touched Canelo really easily too. Even though Canelo was a lot younger, he still had 40 fights. So it was no excuse that he was too young or not experienced enough. Floyd was just that much better. And of course, we're going to hear the talks about, well, who's better, Floyd or Bud? I'm going to say Bud. Bud just seems like a more rugged fighter who would remind me of the Kings of the Ring in the 80s. I think Bud could battle with Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Roberto Duran and Thomas Hearns and Iran Barkley and Alexis Aguero and Aaron Pryor, all those guys. I think Bud fights from a place of hunger, of trying to get a name for himself, not to take away from anything Floyd has achieved. But after he turned into money and no longer was trying to get after people when he was Pretty Boy, I think he lost a lot of his luster for those casuals. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I'm not a casual. I'm more of a enthusiast. So I do watch the fights without sound, so I can get an idea. Speaking of sound, man, Max Kellerman really, really wanted Canelo to win. And he's claimed to be a Bud fan forever. But was he, or was I hearing from a biased perspective that I was pulling for Crawford? But it felt like he was really, really echoing everything that Canelo did. And he even said, I think Canelo won 3 of the first 4 rounds. And I'm like, what rounds did you watch? I don't remember Canelo winning more than 2 rounds the entire fight. So that's why I like to watch the fights without sound. Because a lot of times these commentators have their pick. Like when you watched the late, great George Foreman broadcasting a fight with De La Hoya, you would think George Foreman was in De La Hoya's camp. The way he would give De La Hoya so many props before he even earned, the punch count or whatever it would be. Or Jim Lampley for De La Hoya. Or Roy Jones. Like whoever they wanted to win or whoever they thought the A side was, they would be so biased and so slow to give the B side credit for the punches that they've thrown and connected with. Dr. Frazier said Floyd said he put $50,000 on Bud and he got paid, I think he said $125,000. That's not that big of a return. Is that 3 to 1? Something like that. But he definitely was the underdog in Vegas. Not by a lot, but by enough. But it was the fight of the decade. Well, it was supposed to be Bud versus Spence, but that was not a fight at all. But this one here, I had to watch it from my cell phone because I was traveling. I was leaving Delaware to come back home. And the time difference had the fight on at like midnight on the East Coast. So I was well after midnight watching the fight on my phone in my rental car. But I had it going. I had it blasting in the speaker. And it was just like watching it. So I'm thankful for my little T-Mobile account. I didn't miss one punch. I didn't miss 1 ounce of that fight. I was very pleased. Freddie said I gave Canelo 3 to 4 rounds max. Yeah, I didn't see no real change in momentum. I never saw Bud in any kind of trouble. He took a couple of straight rights, but the rest of the round, it seemed like Canelo was just frustrated. You could give Canelo those rounds, and it still wouldn't have been 115 to 113. That just lets you know that the judges are trying to find a way to make the A side victorious, if not a draw. If Bud didn't outclass Canelo in rounds 11 and 12, we're looking at a draw, which would have been a travesty because Bud clearly rounds 3 through 10 had Canelo frustrated. Every round you ask yourself, who would you rather be? And I would say Bud. Every round, Bud. He just had a plan. He had the defense. The pounce, the CompuBox numbers were crazy. It said Canelo landed 120 punches to Bud's 43. And I'm like, what fight are they watching? Are they counting blocks and feints where they actually don't connect? You got to watch them boxers, man. Your boxing judges. On the undercard, my trainer, my dog from Watts, Brandon the Cannon Adams, wins the Part 2 rematch between he and Suri Buyachuk. Buyachuk called Brandon the old man. So Brandon being 36 years old, Buyachuk being 30, Brandon took that personally. Got in the gym. Well, he lives in the gym. I train at his gym. He's there every day, training every day, all day. So he's never out of shape. But he had to get down to the weight of 155 as he walks around at 170. He got down. He got an old man wig, old man mustache, and old man glasses, and played forever young throughout his training camp. And went out there and had the fight of the night, according to Ring Magazine's voters. He outclassed Buyachuk with body shot after body shot, hook to the head after hook to the head, and then a left hook, right cross. It was a masterpiece, man. I don't think he lost a round. It was a up and down clinic. I'm proud of him. It's well deserved. Gets a nice little fat check. And it's on to the next. I think he's primed for a title shot. Now, who has the title at this point? I have to look that up. But he's probably one of the most feared welterweights out there. It'd probably be categorized as super welterweight because he can go from 155 to 168. So, the Cannon Adams, live and for full effect. Praise Yeshua for the safe travels. Amen. Speaking of my travels, as I go to Delaware, I had my first experience with Spirit Airlines. Now, before I play this, so I wasn't going to the game. My wife and I went to the first game. Delaware was victorious in a long rain-delayed ball game. Took about 7 hours for the game to complete. Delaware State got the win, but they lost a lot of players. So then my son is slated to start, and I'm like, well, he hasn't started since high school, so this is a big moment. So I hop on a plane. The only plane available was Spirit Airlines, and I've heard about Spirit Airlines. I heard it's a little bit rough around the edges. I heard it can get a little bit ghetto. I didn't believe it. So I hop on the plane. Immediately, this is how it goes down. Yeah. You can't make this up. Man is talking on speakerphone. He got to a seat and told the brother behind me, "You're in my seat." And the brother says, "No, this is my seat." And he says, "No, this is my seat." And I'm like, on cue, if you sit in the hood on Spirit, which means the back 20 rows, where you don't pick your seat and you save a few dollars by letting them pick a seat for you, it's going down, man. This guy came on a plane hostile, talking loud, talking in Spanish on his cell phone, and everybody around him is like, "Why are you on speakerphone?" And then he tells the stewardess or the flight attendant, I'm not sure what you call themselves these days, "I can't sit inside, I'm sweaty." His girl on the speakerphone says, yes, he's claustrophobic. He can't sit on the inside row. And then the flight attendant says, well, you should have bought an aisle seat. You can buy your seats if you pay an extra fee. Spirit Airlines sold you something from the day you walked up, from the time you walked up to the counter, to you when you sat down and the plane was in the air. I tell you, we didn't get anything. We didn't get any water. We didn't get any snacks. You can't have a carry-on. You only can have a personal bag. Everything is a la carte. Nice seats. Nice plane. But when you say a la carte, man, Spirit Airlines is off the chain, man. All right, man. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, UCLA let the coach go, man. What's next for them Bruins? We'll be right back.
Are you ready to take control of your future? All-In CDO Training is more than just a driving school. We're your partner in achieving financial independence. Overcoming test anxiety? Struggling with self-doubt? We're here to help. Our expert instructors provide personalized support to guide you through the entire process. With flexible hours and online courses, we'll get you behind the wheel in as little as 3 months. It's time to turn your passion into a rewarding career. All-In CDO Training, the future of commercial driving.
All right, we back. So my Bruins are 0-3, losing to New Mexico, UNLV, and Utah. So immediately, the panic button was pushed, and things began to happen pretty fast. So the conversation was Deshaun Foster better fire his OC and his DC to buy himself some time. That was my response to Ray Domingo, who said, what's up with your coach? I said, he's not doing too hot. The kids love him, but they're not playing for him. So the writing was on the wall. It was inevitable. Great guy. Just not the guy right now. Put into a very difficult situation from the giddy up, from jump. Never having head coaching experience. Given the team somewhat late last year's recruiting process. Coming into this year, our recruiting class was decent until we lucked up and landed 5-star quarterback Nico Iamaleava. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. Big Nico and Pops from the Long Beach fam. This is not all on Deshaun Foster. I think this is on the culture of NIL. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit to what happened to California football. I think we had 55 transfers. No real Bruins. So Deshaun Foster gets, in essence, 15 games last year and this year. Less than that, because we had 12 games last year and 3 games this year. That's 15, so do the math. But this one was over before this game that just passed. When he lost to UNLV, we were already saying the hot seat just got hotter. But what has happened to UCLA, and even USC for that matter, we're no longer the dream destination of kids in California, especially in Los Angeles. Instead, our kids are going to Oregon, Washington, Arizona, the SEC, the Big Ten in general. But it also boils down to development of household names. UCLA used to be Deshaun Foster at tailback. Freeman McNeil at tailback. Gaston Green at tailback. Sharman Shaw, aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, at tailback. Skip Hicks at tailback. Like, we had household names at running back. Maurice Jones-Drew. USC always had a marquee receiver. Johnny Morton, Curtis Conway, Keyshawn Johnson. I can't even tell you who's on the UCLA team, except for the quarterback. Mikey Matthews, I know him because he played at Mission Viejo. But he's a transfer. He had to come back home. Mac is on here. I think Mac might have been the last LA product who was actually recruited from a young age. I was not recruited by UCLA very heavily out the gate. UCLA was very slow to get to me. Not that I was a great prospect. I might have been a 3-star, but I was not their first choice. They went with Amani Toomer from De La Salle, and Eric Holcomb from Westlake, Harvard Westlake. They didn't recruit LA with fervency. So I think that could be something that could be addressed. Yeah, Dr. Frazier, they did look bad. Max says Smoke was put in a bad situation, and now this is the scapegoat for not fully investing into the football program. That's the topic that a lot of folks are bringing up, that we're a basketball school. True. Historically, UCLA is a basketball school. John Wooden, Pyramid of Success, all that stuff is valid. But we've had competitive teams for the last 50 years. We've always been in the mix. It's just right now, not so much. Rube says it's been a rough 26 years for UCLA football. They have to figure out the NIL and their donors sooner than later, or they may never be good again. Never is a strong word. A little birdie said we have some money to do it right, to try one time to do it right. I don't think we should have ever got rid of Jim Mora. 10-win Jim Mora sounds real good right about now. Max says Chip Kelly can only win 10 games in his first 21 for the 3 seasons. Chip Kelly was a bad hire. At that point, I said we might as well just hire Jim Tressel. Shady Jim Tressel would have brought some dudes in here that can't qualify academically, and we would have been on probation, but we would have won 10 games. Zombie Savant, let me hear your thoughts on quick Willie Parker. Willie Parker. Skip Hicks was UCLA. We used to have household names, billboards and stuff, man. We were a basketball school in the 90s. Well, we're also dominant in football as well. It can be done. So it's not the academics per se. That's another excuse. It's the commitment to football. We have the facilities. Only thing we don't have is a 100-yard practice field. But we have the nicest weight room. We have the Jordan brand name across all of our equipment. The gear is top-notch. Location, weather, pretty girls, academics, a community of diversity, academic rigor, political activism, everything you want. But we have not pulled the trigger on bringing in the next Terry Donahue. But we have to remember Terry Donahue didn't start off very well either. The gutty little Bruins, over the course of how many years the Coach Donahue, rest in peace, coach. It takes time to build a program. So hopefully the next guy that comes in here is him. Max says Saban or Meyer, you need to hire one of them. Ooh-wee. I said Urban Meyer last week. Nick Saban, oh my goodness. I don't know if Nick Saban would be too much for the soft, privileged, entitled group of NIL kids that are out there today. Group said lack of on-campus stadium does not help nowadays. We think if the students don't come to the game, if we're winning, we used to play in front of 90,000 and we still had to drive 20 miles to the game. Is it 20 miles from UCLA to the Rose Bowl or 10 miles? Whatever it is, they had student buses and they would load those things up and they would be packed. It would be packed for regular Pac-12 games or Pac-10 games. So how do you get back to us being worth watching? It's a hassle going to the game. Terry Donahue was a lucky hire. Got really lucky, man. But one thing that we discussed as an alumni, and I'm gonna share this because it's a universal thought process. It's something that we used to have at Long Beach Poly. That's alumni connection, alumni mentorship. When the OGs can come back and work out and break bread, and not just at some spring ball alumni come have dinner with the kids, but just be around the program. And the standard is reminded to the kids of what they have to achieve to be in the annals of UCLA football. Those guys need to be visible. And one of our notable alumni said, I have to bring my birth certificate and the affidavit and my passport to get in the weight room. It feels like I'm not wanted. It feels like I have to prove that I went to school here. And I said, amen, brother, because I go on campus and I have to ask for permission to go into the athletic department rooms. Like, to go places, I have to get clearance. Like, I know they have to be secure. I get that. But you have to have people who recognize the OGs. And I'm nobody. I'm small time, but my name's on the wall too. Jimmy Mack's name's on the wall. Rubio's name's on the wall. But if we go up there, we have to make an appointment. We have to make a big deal about it. And then when we have a prospect, when we have our own sons who can play a little bit, you can't even get through to the recruiting coordinator. So there's something missing. There's no connection to the legacy people. So UCLA not only has to find a head coach, but they got to find a culture of reinstating some type of greatness, some type of community, some type of family. Because right now, I have no connection. When Chip Kelly took the job, at least Jim Moore invited us to come practice. Chip Kelly was so standoffish. I mean, I was on the sideline. I had to get, my son was a recruit, and we have recruit lanyards on. And you know, when you're a recruit, it's up to the staff to welcome those recruits. Even if they're not going to offer those kids, it's a possibility if that kid has a great senior year that he could become a guy, and you've started that connection. The guy walked past us 4 times. And you know how big my son is. He's 6'4", and he had the biggest afro in the history of afros. And he still didn't speak to us. And I was like, wow. You know, the disconnect is real, man. But that can all change depending on who they bring in here. You should try to field for a camp. Easy to have Ray Charles drive you home at night. You can't even get no juice and no love. But there is a list of candidates. Off the top, man. As soon as the news came down, I immediately went to the homeboy, good friend, fellow Bruin, Tony White. The DC at Florida State. My roommate, Earl Little, his son plays for Tony White right now. Earl Little Jr. at Florida State. Top candidate for the Thorpe Award. And running that defense that Tony White runs, Florida State is back. They're ranked again after a terrible 2024-2025 season. They're back in the hunt. And him having that experience makes him a hot topic because he can get the guys in. If nothing else, we'll have a top-notch defense. And he can hire the DC, OC, and get the kids in because he's relatable. He's passionate. He's young. He's biracial. He covers a lot of different boxes. So my choice is Tony White. Then you have Jed Fish, who destroys us when he was at Arizona. Now he's at Washington, still destroying us. So Jed Fish, would you leave Washington for UCLA? If UCLA is not going to give you the resources, I wouldn't leave University of Washington as a head coach. Alex Golesh, the head coach at South Florida. Again, do you leave a situation where the academics aren't as strenuous to be the head coach at an academic school? That's a little bit tougher, as we saw Chip Kelly struggle. Not as easy as it sounds. Jonathan Smith is a candidate. He's the head coach at Michigan State. For our weather, you leave Michigan State and Sparty to come to the West Coast because of the weather. Again, academics, Michigan State, not necessarily the academic giant that UCLA is. So that would be a stretch. Word on the street that Kalen DeBoer is not going to last at Alabama, that he would likely come back to the West Coast. He was a long time thorn in our side at Washington, but he's not doing so hot at Alabama. I don't think we're in position to get someone that is a reject of a previous institution. Like if a coach is not doing well where he is, we're not in position to hire a retread. We need somebody that's upstart and ready to go. And then you have my choices, Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel. They both aren't coaching, but I'm like, we got to get some shady dudes in here. Somebody said Nick Saban. Nick Saban. It's going to take a serious culture change. Bring back Coach Yoxel for the strength coach. Remember when Coach Yox got there, Mac and Rubes, when Coach Yox came with that Minnesota Big Ten strength conditioning program, and we were like, what is this? He had us on creatine. He had us lifting weights at 4 a.m. He had us doing 80 40-yard sprints at 5 a.m. And I'm like, Coach, I used to be a 4.4. Now I'm a 4.6. Your strength and conditioning programs made us slower. You're trying to turn us into a Big Ten team. He was foreshadowing for the future. We need those tough guys now. Because we getting beat by New Mexico. Something ain't right, man. We got beat by 2 Mountain West teams in a row. Handily. We knew Utah was going to be tough. But getting beat by New Mexico and all those Idaho transfers, that was an FCS team disguised as an FBS team. And we scored 10 points. So we got to get Nico a new look. I know Nico said he loves Coach Foster. Everybody loves Coach Foster. But he was in over his head, and the situation was not prime, especially in this new NIL generation. He could have worked, say he was a assistant when Terry Donahue retired and he gave him the team like he did Bob Toledo. if the team was already set and guys weren't able to transfer and you had the guys that you're going to have, those guys were Bruins. And we were going to fight and we were going to play hard. Not that we were going to be a 12-win team, but we were going to beat USC. That's for sure. We going to beat USC, if nothing else. If nothing else, man. So my Bruins are in limbo, but they said we got some money so we can hire, not to disrespect Coach Deshaun Foster, but somebody that's seasoned and ready for the position. Not a first-year guy. Now, Tony White will be a first-year head coach, but he's been a big-time defensive coordinator, which means he's pretty much the head coach of the defense. That's why coordinators get jobs, because they are running a side of the ball, which is a sign, a display of leadership, because most head coaches don't coach either side of the ball. They delegate that to their buddies who they hire as coordinators. As a head coach should, he should handle all the culture stuff. But the actual X's and O's and responsibilities goes to the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator. That is your team. My Eagles beat the Chiefs again. It's similar to last year, man. We win ugly. But what does it say as Jalen Hurts continues to beat Patrick Mahomes, who is still the consensus best quarterback in the NFL? Can we now say he is no longer the best quarterback in the NFL? He doesn't have any weapons, but he still has Kelsey. Well, Kelsey dropped a crucial ball that turned into an interception, which pretty much sealed the game for the Eagles. And then we go into tush-push mode, and it's a wrap. But what we've learned is the Eagles are a work in progress, not an automatic Super Bowl return by any stretch, with them Packers looking as good as they look. And in the AFC, oh my goodness, a lot of teams are emerging. The Chargers look pretty good. The Bills look good. The Ravens look good. A lot of injuries, though. Joe Burrow's gone. Rumor mill is that the Bengals are going to try to get Shador. That still doesn't change their fate. Shador is still going to be a rookie. So he's going to have his bumps and bruises no matter what happens. But I hope he gets out from under Cleveland and gets a chance to play. Because I don't think Cleveland has his best interest. They like that he sells jerseys. But they know it's going to be a problem if they lose 2 more games. They're going to have to make some statements. Are we going to ask Shador to practice now? I heard he's not getting any reps in practice, which lets me believe they're holding him back. He should at least be running scout team. They say he's not even doing that. My Eagles have the worst passing offense in the league, but they're still finding a way to win. And I think that's important. As Chris Jones was fussing on the field that Jalen Hurts didn't even have 100 yards passing, and we're about to win, Jalen Hurts' response was, we're going to win the game, so shut your tail up. Like, shut up. Look at the scoreboard. And that's what it's all about. Winning the game. Staying healthy. Playing the next week. Now, the Rams are going to be a tough pill to swallow. I mean, there's a very good chance we get beat by the Rams. The Rams are mad from last year's playoff run when we stopped them in the snow. This time around, it won't be no snow. It's going to be a tough game. It might be our first L of the season. Delaware State, my son's team, pulled out the win. D-Mac Pfizer here at work, at the job. You know. Praying for you, bro. Heard you had like a procedure or something coming up. You in my prayers, man. But DSU got the dub. For a team that was slated to lose every single game, they are 2-1 with a very good chance of winning the next 4 games. The next 3 games are on the road. My son is having a good time, running around, flying around. getting his feet wet, which is part of the process, getting back in the groove of playing football. After 2 years of watching at San Jose State, he gets to get his groove back, so I'm excited for him. I mean, as a father, I couldn't be any happier that he's going through these growing pains. He's learning, the ins and outs of college football, getting himself ready, taking care of himself, going to school, taking care of your books, being responsible for your plays, being responsible for your academics, being responsible for your apartment, all that stuff. The game was exciting. Delaware State versus Bowie State. Delaware got the dub 36-14, and it wasn't that big of a challenge. I think Bowie State is now a Division II team, so they got demoted down. Unless they were always a D2 team, but HBCU versus HBCU just means the resources weren't there. So both teams weren't, that deep. Bowie State was even less deep than DSU. But the game was pretty much out of hand. Come the third quarter, they got the extra score late in the game. The Battle of the Bands was actually a pretty good contest. They had a good band at Bowie State. I have some footage. I'm not going to show much of the game itself because I've been getting shut down lately. But the DSU band comes in. It came in high stepping. It's just like you imagined. It's just like on TV when you see it. High stepping, girls dancing, everybody in unison. All right, so this is DSU marching band. And then there is a Bowie State. I caught them walking underneath the bleachers as I'm trying to get out the sun. Let's see if I have that recording somewhere. I know I brought it in here. Oh boy, I think I messed it up. I didn't bring it in. No, I didn't bring it in. Oh, so DSU's band had a drumline moment. So they got called out by Bowie State. So their snare drums versus our snare drums. It's the game. It's the game within the side of the game, man. It's something you have to experience. I can't wait till homecoming, so we get to see the band bring out their best, and it's just something you have to experience, man. Not you, or I'm thinking about somebody else, man. But you still in my prayers, bro. All my homies, man. Be up. Same old Raiders. Don't give the Chargers too much credit. That looked like a pretty good Chargers team, man. Khalil Mack looked like he hyperextended his elbow, so he might be out for a minute. But that defense was pretty tough. Geno looked flustered. He looked really out of whack. So it might just be the same old Raiders. It just might be the same old Raiders, man. Yeah, man. All right, man. So with everything going on in this country, unfortunate actions, school shootings, assassinations, everything, man. It's a lot. But my encouragement to people, as I have to be very careful what I say, because one of my fellow teachers got walked out of the classroom today for some things he said on social media. So it's a very delicate topic. It's something you should talk to your people one-on-one and not on social media to express how you feel about situations like that. But what I will say about it is there's evil begets evil, and there's no respect of person when you're talking about the rulers of darkness, the evils of this world. And that's why I always warned people about hate speech and coming against your brother or your sister, because you never know where somebody might be. And you may not know the circumstances. You may not know what's happening behind the curtain. Like something might be a distraction from what is really happening behind closed doors. So me being a government employee, to keep this very generic, is just to be mindful, be considerate, be understanding, and be okay with disagreeing with people. You don't have to agree about things. And violence is not the answer. However, I think there are bigger chess pieces being played here besides the pawns that are sacrificed. So sit back and research and read between the lines before you get into a position where you're just angry and hostile and ready to go do something to somebody. Don't leave things on the surface. Dig a little bit deeper and find out what the true meaning of things are, the true reason the reason why things are the way they are. What could be the reason why something happened and the timing of it. Feel bad for who you need to feel bad for. Pray for the things that you can't control. For those you feel remorse for those who feel that they can't change, you pray for them. The Bible says, pray for your enemies. Pray for leadership. Yeshua said on the cross, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Here he is on the cross next to two criminals. And he asked God, forgive these two dudes that are going to die with me today. They don't even know what they're doing. They didn't know the consequences of their actions. But they're actually good dudes. So forgive them. And they'll be with me in paradise, he said. So when we get on our high horse about everything, I'm talking about everything now. The things that we deal with every single day. With the kids being hung from a tree at the HBCU. Police brutality, assassinations, everything needs to come to an end. It needs to stop. The violence must stop. Killings must stop. Wars must stop. Rumors of war. It's in the Bible. In the last days, there'll be war and rumors of war. So we're living in those times. However, our prayers should be that we can live peaceably amongst one another, that we would obey authority, and that we would continue to be able to live this life in a manner that was free, that we have our free will, that we can come and go as we please, that we have respect for our fellow man, that we will have edifying words for our fellow man. There's no rule, there's no law versus love, kindness, peace, joy. There's no law. So live in that, y'all. All right, man. I'm going to take this time, go find me something to eat. It's dinner time. I went to the boxing gym, got it in tonight at Cannon Nation Boxing in Santa Fe Springs. Got a good sweat in. Again, I'm not in there sparring no more. I'm just hitting the bag and working out. Appreciate Coach Cam for the workout. The lady is crazy. She says 20 burpees. And I'm like, nah, I'm 51 years old. My burpee days are over. I'm going to give you some jumping jacks. These youngsters can get these burpees. Not the kid. As I go out, man. Basketball season's coming up too. Shout out to the GOAT, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Rookie season versus Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. 39, 20, 5, and 5 as a pup versus the great Wilt Chamberlain. Yeah, he blocked his sky hook once, but talking about domination and not having the ball, Kareem was him, man. That's my GOAT. You guys can talk about LeBron and Michael Jordan all you want. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I might have brought this up last week, but I want the algorithm to get it again. Give Cap his love, man. Hey, Louis Perez in here. Go Bruins. Right now we stopped. Coach Skipper is going to take over. Hopefully he rallies the troops. If we don't beat Northwestern, the Geeks said we might beat Nebraska. If Skipper can rally us to 5 wins, if Skipper can lead us to 5 wins, I say give him the job. Give him the job. Because we want someone that can use their je ne sais quoi to get an all-star team to play together. And that's in essence what UCLA has. I don't know any of these kids except for Mikey Matthews and Nico. I have to be introduced to these transfers. I understand we have a corner from Sarah transferred in from Oregon. But other than that, we got to get back to knowing who our kids are so we can root for them, come see them, come hang out with them in the locker room and be their mentors and get them guys right. All right. Freddie said Wilt holds all the records. Yeah, because he played before anybody got to the league. It was just him and Bill Russell. Not that Wilt wasn't great, but he does hold all the records. Averaging 50 points a game was crazy. All right, man, that's my time. I'll see y'all next time on the flip side. Continue to love on your family, love on your friends and relatives, and pray about everything, y'all. That's the answer. Prayer. Amen. I'll see y'all next week. AC Sports Live. I'm out.